Hey folks, Coach Mike here. The following video is about 20 minutes long and it's me interviewing a personal trainer, Richard England. So Richard's been a personal trainer for nearly, I think almost 5 years, has over 3,000 classes that he's coached at Orange Theory and comes with a ton of experience. I asked him about 10 to 12 questions and he's on point and very supportive in what he can do to help people to get more movement in their lives. I hope you enjoy this video as much as I did. Let's get to it. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And Richard, thank you so much for doing this. Hello and welcome. My name is Mike Thomas. I'm a board certified health coach on a mission to help people lose weight by incorporating more plants into their diet, all without feeling the hunger pains. I'm also proud to be board certified in lifestyle medicine. Some of the pillars, the key pillars of lifestyle medicine are eating a whole food plant-based diet, nutrition, movement, which we're going to talk a lot about today, sleep, stress management, social connection, and of course the important task of minimizing or eliminating things like tobacco and alcohol. If you have any questions or you want to look stuff up about me, you just go to coachmikethomas.com and you can find it there. Today's guest is Richard England, someone who perfectly embodies the pillar of movement in lifestyle medicine. Richard's a full-time fitness trainer dedicated to 35 to 45 hours every week of making sure people are getting up, moving, and staying active. He's been in the game for a while with an impressive track record. This week hit 3,000 classes coached as a group fitness trainer at Orange Theory Fitness. Additionally, he serves as a personal trainer at the Candles Apartment right here in Springfield, Illinois. What sets him apart really for Richard is his expertise in finding enjoyment through physical activity, whether it's through sports or a little friendly competition. The goal of today's video is for my and Richard's collaboration to help people with the pillar of getting more movement in their lives, and we know that there's tons of opportunity out there. Many of us live a very sedentary lifestyle. Before we get to that, and I have questions and introductions for Richard, I just want to make sure that I mention how I got to know Richard, and that is through my sister, Bev. So obviously I've known Bev all my life. She's older than me and I'm 57 years old. I think it was probably about 18 months ago, maybe even longer, that I would talk to her and she was telling me about this physical trainer, this personal trainer named Richard that was just so good with knowledge, but also encouragement and had the perfect balance of education and accountability. Was really good for her. And then for whatever reason, she decided to join Orange Theory, which Richard was there as well. Fast forward now, my wife, my sister-in-law go to Orange Theory, and my sister goes to Orange Theory. My sister's recently moved to Florida, but she's also going to Orange Theory down there as well at this time. So I was excited because my wife talked about doing this, what is it, Richard, the outdoor thing that you guys do where you go like Buzz Bomb and such?
Yeah, we call it our Burn and Brew series. We visit different breweries in the area and take our workout to them.
Right, yeah. So this was a way that my wife could get some extra points and invite her guest, being her husband, to these workouts, which have been an absolute blast. I think we've been to 4 or 5 of them thus far, but that's when I finally got to meet Richard face to face. And I think it's probably been 2 or 3 months we've talked about kind of collaborating on a video to really get information out, to try to get into social media to really help and support individuals out there. And that's why we came up with these series of questions. So as we kick it off, first of all, of course, thank you so much, Richard, for joining. And tell us a little bit about your personal story and how you got into this line of business. Walk us through that.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of fitness my whole life. I had the pleasure of pitching out at the University of Illinois Springfield here in Springfield in 2014 and 15.
Wow.
And I was always the try-hard in the weight room or on the practice field, more out of pure enjoyment. I wanted to get the most out of my opportunities presented, and I wanted to see how far I could take my God-given talents, So
Yeah.
I decided to get a bachelor's in biology because I was always interested in fitness, and I felt like that would give me a more solid framework of the biological processes and movement and exercise.
Oh, wow. Very cool. And then what brought you to things like Orange Theory and actually start doing the training and stuff?
Well, we moved downtown. Tiffany and I is who I'm referring to,
Mm.
my fiance, and it was right next to the downtown Y. So I walked up there, asked for a job, um, worked there for maybe 6 months or so, and then was approached by another personal trainer who educated me about Orange Theory and how I would be a good fit over there. So I started Orange Theory in 2019, coming up on 5 years now at personal
Wow.
training and group fitness.
Wow, that is fantastic. Absolutely. And you're doing kind of a side gig, it sounds like too, at the apartments and stuff. Is that something you started at that time, or was that something new for you?
So that happened right at the pandemic, right before 2020. I was offered an opportunity to live on site at the Candles and provide group fitness to all the tenants that live here as well, in exchange for operating my own business out of the gym. So that's how I met Bev and do my personal training still to this day.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good. And I know there's tremendous value. Obviously, that you help in the structured with Orange Theory, but obviously what you're doing, I went by there right before she left, and there were just a boatload of people coming out of that building that you guys train in. And she's like, "Yeah, Richard had a class this morning." So that's
Yeah,
fantastic. It
that's
sounds
right.
like that's going well for you. So into the topic itself with just movement and the challenges with many people living a sedentary lifestyle. Obviously, we know how important it is to have consistent movement as part of people's lives. Why do you think personally that that's important?
Movement is medicine. That's one of my favorite quotes. Just that sense of accomplishment that comes with cardiovascular training or resistance training. People leave with an extra focus. They're more flexible. They're in a better mood. They have a longer drive. And I think that's important and should be craved by our society that has kind of steered itself in the opposite direction. And, maybe we've been adjusting our standard a little bit to people that might have been neglecting or putting off their movement, through their adult life. And we're really seeing how that's impacting, our world today.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. When you think about exercise and movement, the first thing we always think about is the physicality. But I love how you talked about mood and emotion and your mental facilities and how there's so much scientific data now that shows when you get that workout in, you're less stressed, you can think more clearly. Oh, there's so many mental and emotional benefits to movement as well, but it's obviously a huge obstacle for folks to get in that routine of getting that movement or that exercise going. Why do you think that is in people's lives and having that obstacle?
To have more movement in their routine
Yeah, well,
consistency.
why do you think? Yeah, well, you and I know that we all should be moving, but you and I also know that probably 20 to 30% of us are. Why is there such a big, huge gap in what people are doing and what they want to do, what they should be doing, but they're actually doing? What's the obstacle, do you think?
Yeah, the advancements of technology have obviously been great for multiple reasons, but one backlash is sedentary entertainment.
Yeah.
How much entertainment do we have while we're just able to sit here and watch others live their life instead of us living our own? Unfortunately, we're dependent on other people or shows making us feel happy instead of getting out there and really moving to, like you said, improving our mental facilities. It's kind of like supplemental, we're watching other people do stuff on the TV or through video games on social media. And that has definitely led to more people just living a stationary lifestyle and not investing as much in their physical progress.
There's a whole lot of sitting going on.
There's a whole lot of sitting going on.
Yeah, there absolutely is. So the next two questions, one is about cardiovascular health and the other one's about strength training, right? So tell me your overall thoughts of just prioritizing cardiovascular exercise and maybe what are some practical ways that people can incorporate cardiovascular exercise in their lives?
Yeah, it's got to become a non-negotiable for people. They
Okay.
have to really see the importance of cardiovascular training, and most of us wait till we have that wake-up call, till a doctor or expert really says, hey, it's time to really get started on this, when it's way more important to do this consistently throughout our lifetime, from youth all the way through young adulthood, all the way to our senior years. So people think of cardio as having to run or bike or row, do these type of things. But what I really want to discuss here today are the different forms of cardiovascular training that you can do without even touching a treadmill or not even having any equipment to use. It just really depends on what you like to do and how you can enjoy that, and that's going to make you want to prioritize it more.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. If you don't enjoy it or it's a pain, it's probably not going to be sustainable, right? I mean, as a coach, I work with my clients all the time and encourage them to do the things that they love. So I like how you said that. I think that's going to be really practical in ways that people can incorporate that into their lives. What about strength training and people that don't maybe have access to things like Orange Theory or the Y or what have you? Obviously, it's really important. What are maybe some things that individuals can do for just building muscle strength and such?
Well, strength training is contracting your muscles in the opposite direction of resistance.
Yeah.
And everybody has gravity as resistance, right? So you can always do body weight work to challenge yourself, challenge your muscles, and kind of build a foundation that will help increase your skeletal muscle mass, and you'll feel stronger, have looser joints, your bones will be stronger, and kind of those increased effects of mood and focus that we talked about earlier. Because our muscles have proteins and hormones stored in them that when you do contract them and use them and you get the blood flowing, those proteins are released into your blood system and taken to different parts of your brain or your body.
Right.
They're going to make you feel good.
Yeah, that's excellent. Very, very good. So what about let's get some specific things that people can do to incorporate just movement in general in their daily lives, right? So maybe what's one or two simple and effective things that people can do to just get some more movement in?
Yeah, obviously there's a wide range of physical activity that we all know about. I like to start simple, like with marching in place or sitting and standing up and out of a chair, going through toe touches or good mornings. You got bird dogs, kneeling planks. There's all sorts of kind of ground level exercises that I like to start my personal training clients off with, and then you can build up from there. Once you get more comfortable with those simpler movements, and you could advance into things like burpees or push-ups or plank variations, and any body weight calisthenic is going to be really great, and it can be done in the comfort of your own living room.
Yeah, I love that. It's really convenient. You can use gravity as the weight to help and support yourself. What about so that's like more of a structured, here's what I'm doing, I'm now at exercise time. But what comes to mind, because all movement counts, right? So what comes to mind for you, Richard, is what things people can do that aren't necessarily in that 30-minute workout or that hour or 45-minute workout, but in their regular movement in their lives? What can they do to incorporate more movement that way?
If you have the resources, I always think, when people tell me they have pets, a dog, walk your dog, exercise with your animals. That's a great way to kind of have an excuse to get out.
Yeah.
Maybe if you don't have animals, but you have the land, you could do some gardening, some just kind of functional pattern movements, getting up, getting down, shoveling, using some tools that'll help with like your grip strength and things like that. And sports, if you can get into some sort of recreational basketball or pickleball, disc golf, all those things are going to really add up over time, and kind of comes back to our main point is enjoyment. As long as you like it, that time's going to pass by. You're not even going to think of it as exercise by the end of it.
Right. Yeah, I love that, how you came around to the joy piece again. I think that's just so incredibly critical, Richard. So overcoming barriers. So let's just talk about time. Okay. We can talk about energy, we can talk about resources, but just the barrier of time. Mike, I know it's important. I know I need to work out. I know I need to get more movement. I just don't have enough time. So what would you tell that individual who is as you're well aware, I'm sure you are as well, we live very busy, chaotic lives. How can we, with the lack of time in our lives, still get some sufficient movement to help us to better health and wellness?
And it's hard, but the point we got to drive home here is kind of frank, that you have to make time.
Okay.
you got to get up and out of bed earlier, maybe get up before the kids or the family are awake. For me, when I started my fitness journey, I was waking up at 6 in the morning before school and weightlifting and all that, just so I could run the 1 mile to a school, and then I'd run 1 mile back and do this all year round. And that kind of just helped me pick up some momentum. It cost $0 and nobody made me do it. But I thought at that time that would be the difference maker between me being an elite athlete or a regular athlete. And then, of course, it's going to make you look better. You're going to be in better shape, things like that. But making the time and getting up and out of bed requires going to sleep at night and kind of just shifting your circadian rhythm, to really revolve around health and fitness. It does take a lot of intention.
Yeah. It takes intention, and you have to be clear about what your priority is, right? So like you just said, if your priority is health, if your priority is improving in sports, if that's your priority, to prioritize that, maybe you're going to bed at 10 and not midnight, right? Things like that to help free up some time to get some extra workout in and stuff like that. So excellent. So I wrote a book, shameless plug here. I wrote a book called Making Change Stick. It's an ebook that's free and available online. It'll be actually, that link to that book, if you're interested, will be in the comments in the description of the video below. And that's the topic of this question here. And that is consistently, and I know I definitely have struggled with this in my life, is I start something, I'm motivated, I'm excited, whether that's a workout program or a certain diet I'm working on or whatever. And, I'm pretty good for a few weeks, but most of us, we start and we stop. If you look at the cars in the parking lot at your local gym, usually in January, it's hard to park because there's so many cars there. And as we get to around April or so, there's a lot easier to park. And by December, there's plenty of places to park because we start and stop and start and stop. So what would you recommend, Richard? Because I'm sure you've seen this over the course of the last several years of individuals that are trying to sustain that behavior change. What is maybe one or two things that come to mind for you to help that individual to have sustainable behavior change in the realm of movement or exercise? What do you think?
Every day you're either progressing or degressing, right? Every day. That. Nobody really gets to stay stagnant. That's just not in the realm of reality. So I like to reference the power of one more day. What if you can commit to one more workout? If you go work out today or whatever the activity is that you're trying to get into, if you just commit to one more day, stick into that habit, then you can reevaluate how you feel tomorrow, and maybe you can trick yourself back into one more day. Let's give this one more shot. Because what tends to happen, and I see this all the time, is, oh, that person didn't show up this week, or I haven't seen them in 2 weeks, and then they're not coming back, ever. And it's rough. I get it. I see it all the time. So it's like, you just have to talk yourself into one more bit of activity and see how you feel after that.
I love that. I hadn't heard it worded like that before, but I love that mindset of, what am I doing just today? I don't have to worry about the next 4 years of working out, which is several hundred workouts. What am I focusing on today to help me and support me? And when that person has that mindset and they embrace that mindset, which is a challenge, of course, but if they embrace that and they execute to what you're saying, the philosophy of one more day, the next day they feel a little bit more confident because they didn't feel like it, but they did it anyway. I think if we rely on whether or not we feel like working out or going to work or whatever, we are probably going to be pretty inconsistent because our emotions change all the time. So I love that concept of just having the mindset of saying, what can I do today? One more day to help me and build me in the capacity of confidence to move forward. So just a couple more little questions for you. The first one is, no names, but I'm just curious, in your experience of seeing a lot of people go through the struggles or what have you, what comes to mind to you for maybe an inspiring story that the viewers can see this to say, that's really inspiring for them to maybe light a fire and help them to support them?
There's countless Orange Theory members that come to mind.
Yeah.
Because the type of programming that we do does involve a good amount of cardio. And so there's a guy, specifically one person I'm thinking of, that never did any competitions or any extra running events because he wasn't necessarily in shape or had the urge to do that. And now, after being a Orange Theory member for 5 years, almost 5 years, he's participating in 2 half marathons a year, multiple 5Ks. And so he went basically from, ignoring that side of life to now that's something he kind of seeks out and looks forward to the Lincoln Half Marathon that we do in April. And he really participates in those races and things like that.
Yeah.
So I know that's inspiring to kind of go from 0 to 100. Now you're a half marathon runner running 13 plus miles in a race at a time.
That's
doing
fantastic.
Things he never thought he would do,
Yeah. Was it a slow process for this individual where he just started getting a little stronger and a little more confident, or did one day all of a sudden the switch flipped? It really depends, but I'm just curious with this specific person.
It would have been a slow burn for sure.
Okay.
Just kind of gradually working up. Like I said, we spend a good amount of time on treadmills at Orange Theory, so you can really kind of track your progress and your performance. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I ran the entire time that I was asked to, all 23 minutes or whatever the case may be. And then we sponsor races and we get involved in a lot of things. So he might have just been like, oh, let me try that 5K that they're going to be at this weekend and kind of market it to him. And then it's kind of just been the sky is the limit for him.
That is so great. And I'm sure there's countless other ones you could share, but being around hundreds of probably thousands by now after 5 years of people, and just so many incredibly inspiring stories. I'm sure that's inspiring for you as well. As I coach, I've had probably almost 100 clients in the last 5 years, and probably over 2,000 coaching sessions. And time again, there's usually not a coaching call where I'm not inspired by an aha moment or progress that's made by a specific client. So that's pretty cool. So the last thing I have for you, Richard, first of all, of course, thank you so much for taking the time to share this information with folks that are listening to add value to their lives. How can people get in touch with you? What makes the most sense for you, Richard?
Yeah, I have an email, an Orange Theory email that individuals can definitely reach out to me too. I check it every day and it won't get lost in my Gmail,
Yeah.
So that is headtrainer0805 at orangetheoryfitness.com. So a little wordy, but headtrainer0805 at orangetheoryfitness.com would be the best way for people to reach out.
Perfect. And I definitely will have that in the description of the video as well. So anybody watching, don't worry about having to write it down. You can just click on it and send Richard an email, and they can send you an email regarding potential classes that you can teach individually. I know you're doing a lot of group coaching classes, as well as what's going on with Orange Theory as well. So there's opportunity there. So, okay, that's all I got for today, but I hope this was helpful and beneficial for people. Again, I so appreciate you taking, probably the last 15, 20 minutes and kind of going through some of the challenges that are out there, obstacles that we have, and some excellent potential solutions for those individuals as well. All right. Thank you so much, Richard. You take care, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike.
Bye-bye.